Star Wars will forever be one of my most favorite series that has released pretty much ever that I can think of. I really like the world, I like the characters, but most of all, I just like the lightsabers and I like the Force itself. And I think that's what draws most people to it, well, at least a lot of the guys who watch it, is the lightsaber duels. Because, I mean, the blasters are cool and all, but we see that everywhere. Whereas the lightsabers, I mean, that's sword fighting in a way, but it's also not because lightsabers can cut through everything. And so just that fact alone is really what drives me to consume the content that is Star Wars, whether it be the games or the movies or books or shows or whatever like that. And so when we just see these repeated movies and shows just not have anything that has to do with any of that and the Jedi and the Sith, or if it does, it's just mentioned in the background and then nothing's said about it. It's like, it just makes me lose interest, unfortunately, because I really like Star Wars, but everything recently has just been utter garbage, really, for me. But anyway, we have a new game coming out, another one, Star Wars Outlaws, and they are trying to charge 110, 100 and whatever amount of money for the collector's edition that has the 3 days early access for an online only game. And so people are outraged, as I think they should be, because the amount of online only games nowadays is just getting absolutely ridiculous. Because online only means if you don't have internet, you can't play the game. And sometimes internet goes out, and sometimes you just don't want to even play online anyway. And so it's just absolutely absurd that we've gotten to this point, but companies are going to do what they're going to do. So let's get into this article and see what exactly is going on. The Star Wars Outlaws 110 and $130 editions prompt a collective sigh from potential players tired of season passes and ill-advised early access periods. I've got a bad feeling about this. Shout out to Han. It says, I'm genuinely excited for Star Wars Outlaws, especially since the trailer debuted earlier this week. It might not set the world on fire or anything, but I like my blasters, like my freaky aliens, and like my making ticks in an open world checklist. I'm not above the Ubisoft game loop. I'm going to have to disagree here. The amount of open world games that are just open world to be open world for no real other design perspective, if you will, or gameplay incentive than that is just to be open world. I just don't care. I'd rather have a game focused, even in an open world, a focused game, than just a game that just, oh, here's an open world, go do side quests and stuff. It's like, well, are the side quests leading to something, or is the game just doing side quests? Because I feel like there's a lot of these open world games are. It's like all these different puzzles and stuff that are just thrown into the world to have them because that's something to do instead of filling that world with quests that I don't know, maybe build up the story more to get to the end. I don't know, that's just one thing that especially lately the amount of open world games they've had were just like open world. It's just bad, I think. It's really bad. There's very few games that have done it right. I mean, even Elden Ring, I really liked Elden Ring, but the open world, I mean, it was almost too big for its own good, and there just wasn't filled with anything, and a lot of the dungeons and stuff were repeats. But Elden Ring was also a very fun game, and it also had a really interesting plot, if you will, a lot of cool bosses, and so that's what carried the game because it rose over that. But a lot of these games just kind of hinge on the fact that they are open world, and so they're just horrible by virtue of that, really. And then also being excited. It's like I want to be excited again for Star Wars, but I just can't, man. Not until I see something that really grips my attention with, like I said, lightsaber battles, like huge space battles, and the Force. Because really that's what drew me to Star Wars. I mean, the blasters are cool and all, but let's be real, it's all about the Jedi and Sith. I mean, if it didn't have the Jedi and Sith, who would watch it? Not as many people, I'll guarantee you that. But yeah, anyway, so it's hard to be excited for this, especially when they're charging $110 for this game. It says, I am, however, exhausted by collector's editions that toss a few skins and items into the game for another batch of credits, and I'm not exactly alone. anytime I see charts like these, it just makes me think I can't wait to buy the full game for $20 years later, writes an understandably tired observer on Twitter. Yeah, 100%. It's like, why just buy it now when you can just get it for a third, well, of that, a fifth of the price, like a year later? Not even years later. It's like a year later that these games go on like ultra sale, especially if you're on Steam. It's just a really honest, true point. It's like there's really no point. I mean, these games. I mean, a lot of them, a lot of the people who buy them early like that. I mean, I used to do it like myself, so I understand this. It's just based on FOMO. It's because you don't want to miss out on the opportunity of somebody playing it before you. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's already people playing it before you anyway with the reviews, so it's not like you're really going to be standing out even in that respect. And just also, it's like it's 3 days. I, if you're really that down bad to play a game, play something else. I don't know. It's just I just want to encourage people to just not buy pre-order these games. Wait until the review drops so you know what you're getting. Because yeah, the trailers are cool and all, but they're trailers. You don't know until you see like physical gameplay or like a playthrough, so you know what the gameplay loop is like. Because almost all of these Star Wars games they've released lately have just, I mean, they're okay, but they're just, I mean, the one saving grace of them is that you were a lightsaber wielder, but I also I think a lot of people also just want it more real, if you will. Like lightsabers are supposed to be able to cut pretty much everything in half. Objects, animals, people, ships, you name it, it can cut it in half. And you don't really see that anywhere, really. I mean, they have like the outlines of where the lightsaber blade went through. It's like, okay, cool, but it's still just a line on the wall. I want to see like interactable objects being cut in half, stuff getting blown up, if you will. Just a more adult-esque of it. I mean, I hate saying it's not like it's even adult, really. I mean, people getting cut in half, I guess, but more realistic is what people want. Not these just super safe, half-baked games that are open world. Ooh, who cares? Who cares? The response isn't exactly glowing on Reddit either. In a critique focused and amply named Star Wars subreddit, Saltier Than Crate, one commenter writes, if people choose to make what seems to be an unwise purchase, go ahead and good luck, but I'll happily hold off. 100%. I mean, the people who are dumb enough to go ahead and buy these, I'm sorry, but it's just stupid for 3 days early access. Hashtag not worth. I'm not faring great else. It's not faring great elsewhere either. JC, that's 176 CAD. I think that's Canadian dollars, so not real money. Shout out to Asmund. There's more than any collector's edition I've seen, but usually that would come with some giant statue of a character. And that's another thing too, is like the collector's editions used to come with statues or physical objects that you would have. I mean, I have some collector's editions because they came with like a map or whatever, a scroll, a figure, something else with it that justified that $130 price tag. Does this? I don't think so. I think it's just all digital, 3 days early access, some cosmetics in game. It's like, who even cares about that? Somebody who's also myself, I've spent money on cosmetics, and even looking back, it's like, what is the point? I mean, sure, some of them, I mean, maybe buying a couple, especially on like a permanently online game like League or something like that, I guess it makes sense. But even then, it's like, it's just a skin. And unless it's like something that really piques your attention, it just doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Well, I mean, games don't matter either, but that really doesn't matter, if you will. But yeah, so I definitely agree. If you're watching this, just please wait for a review. Don't pre-order it. Don't buy it for 3 days early access because it's only 3 days and nobody even cares if you get it early or not anyway. So why should you? But that's just my opinion. What do I know? I'm just a random guy on the internet. But anyway, if you guys liked the video, make sure to leave a like. Also, leave some comments down below too what you think about the collector's edition as well. And how it's just gone from being physical to basically all digital collector's edition, which means basically nothing. And also your thoughts on Star Wars genre as a whole now. It's not even well, I guess it is kind of a genre. With just the media and everything like that, because it's just not as good as it used to be. And what's your ideas? What are some things you would like to see in another Star Wars game that you would think would produce something more worthwhile playing? But anyway, if you guys liked the video, make sure to leave a like, and I hope to see you guys around. Peace.